Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Let's Be Soulful. I am so happy to be here with you tonight. I'm recording this episode again late at night because I live right next to a construction site in Costa Rica and they were drilling all day long and it sounded horrible. So I'm back recording again at night. And I first just want to thank you guys so much for those of you that reached out after listening to the first episode. It really means the world to me. And I want to share that if you have been feeling the call to put your voice out into the world in some way, shape, or form, follow that call. It's so normal to get bombarded by, I call it egoic drama about how your story doesn't matter and who really cares what you have to say and da 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 da. And it's all just bullshit. Your story deeply matters and your words can touch people, and never forget that. So, thank you guys again. I'm really excited about the topic for this week. The way I want to run this podcast is, of course, focused on being soulful, living soulful. There might be a rebrand literally next week, which next week's episode will be about, but still going to be the theme of really being our true selves and our full selves. And I really believe that comes from an authentic connection with our soul and our soul's essence. And I want to talk about the part of the growth journey. And I'm going to explain like the soul's journey is a journey of growth. Like we can't be soulful and connected to our true, authentic selves if we are not growing. And basically, one of the hardest parts of growth is being willing and able to let go, specifically of relationships that don't serve us anymore. So that is why this episode is titled Where You Are Going, Not Everyone Can Come With You. And I wish I knew this sooner on my journey because I used to feel like if relationships were being maybe removed from my life without me initiating it, I felt like I was doing something wrong. And I would want to cling to those relationships and really hold on to them. And I also have had a hard time just having hard conversations with people and explaining where I'm at and transitioning relationships that don't serve me anymore. Like that used to just tear me up inside. But it's an important part of the growth journey because when we're growing, we're creating and we're changing our frequency. And that means that things are going to come in and out of resonance with us. And when we can accept that and also know that it doesn't mean that it won't be painful, we can stay focused on where we're going and learn to navigate, I'd say, like the intricacies of relationships with more grace and maturity, knowing that we're going to have hard conversations and let relationships go. That is just a part of the process and the journey of life. Whether we are the ones that initiate the letting go, which is what I'm going to talk about today, or they leave our lives, right? Someone breaks up with us, or we try really hard to make a friendship work and it's just not. Like that sucks, but we have to know that the universe and the divine is looking out for us, and there's always a reason why the people that come into our lives, why they leave our lives. It all has a reason and a meaning. So, the first thing I'm going to talk about today is this concept of resonance and what growth is to the soul. And then I'm going to explain how you can know if a relationship is no longer in resonance with you. And then, if that's the case, how you can end it in a way that is loving, first and foremost, to yourself. I want to preface this whole conversation with saying one, impermanence is hard. Impermanence is the idea that, or the concept that nothing in this reality is permanent. And that is true. Nothing is permanent. I believe the essence of your soul is eternal and will live on forever. So that is technically permanent. But besides that, nothing is permanent. And the human mind has a very hard time with that. So we have to accept that it's going to be a hard part of this reality, but we all consent to it when we incarnate on this earth. And also with the notion that if you are sensitive, meaning you are highly attuned to energetics, that's what being sensitive is. this is going to be hard for you because you are someone who feels a lot of feelings and you live your life with a wide open heart. And so that makes the letting go process even a bit more challenging. So you can know that you are someone who will be deeply affected by things throughout your life. And that awareness and acceptance just creates a better understanding of who you truly are. So if you're operating a sensitive body, don't pretend that you're not, right? Be like, okay, this is who she is. If she ends a friendship or ends a relationship or someone breaks up with her, she's going to need time, right? Like I use this example with myself. Like I know that I'm going to need time and my heart's going to feel broken, and that's okay. I accept that about myself. I've made peace with that. And I know if you're listening to this, you're a sensitive soul and you can make peace with that too. So, first, the soul path is always going to be a path of growth because the soul is motivated by growth. Expansion and even creation is a result of growth. So the soul is always going to be advocating for you to grow, and you cannot live a soulful life, an authentic life, without growth. It's just the facts. So when you can feel deep in your bones that you are someone who chose the path of soul, then you chose the path of growth. And so when you're in moments where you're like, what in the hell? Everything is changing really quickly, or why is like everything shifting and what once worked no longer does, you can remind yourself, oh, right, I'm just growing. And this means I'm following my soul. So that's okay. I used to make the mistake that being aligned with my soul meant that every day was like was hunky dory. That is so untrue. You guys, the soul will take you on a wild ride. And there's a lot of loss involved and grief involved. Last week's episode, I talked about, the loss that I had no control over that I had to grieve, but I've also had to grieve like a million versions of myself and even a million different lives. Like my soul has had me move like more times than I can even count. And that's like me creating a life and ending that life. And it is hard. It's heartbreaking, but it's the path of growth. So the soul's path is the path of growth. The path of growth means that we have to let go of things, which is hard. And then resonance. So when you are growing, you are changing your frequency. And when your frequency changes, things are going to come in and out of resonance with you. Your body is vibrating at a certain frequency. And when that frequency changes, things in your life will change. I believe that resonance is not just people, it's places, it's things in our lives. That's why when I don't know if you guys have ever had it happen where like you feel like your style just changes really quickly. Like you're like, I used to love these pants and now I don't, and I don't know what happened. What happened was that your frequency changed and those pants used to be in resonance and now they're not. And it sounds trivial and kind of superficial, but it's a big deal. Like if you are someone who wants to live an authentic life that's in congruence with your deepest truth, no big deal. You want everything to match that, including your clothes and who you spend time with and everything. So, resonance is simply the harmonization of energy. So, when you are in resonance with a friend or a person, I believe it's two matching frequencies coming together to create a beautiful symphony. So when we're in resonance, it's when we feel like we're really vibing. We're like, yes, that is the feeling that we're seeking. And it doesn't mean that, every time we hang out with somebody and it's not like a 10 out of 10 hangout, it's like, oh, not in resonance, I'm done here. You're mostly looking at how do I feel overall when I'm spending time with this person. I most of the time want to feel like I'm in resonance. So what does that feel like? So resonance is from the body, it's not from the mind. And I really want to make this distinction because the mind can be a dangerous creature if we don't watch out. And the mind is generally full of a lot of doubt and a lot of conditioned bullshit, if we're going to be honest. Meanwhile, the body is an incredibly wise compass, especially if we are settling our nervous systems. This is only going to be true if you are not in the fight or flight state. So ideally, if you are, doing your work and creating an environment of harmony for your body, it is an exceptionally wise compass. So, what I want you to do when you're trying to understand what's in resonance, pay attention to how your body feels. Resonance feels like ease and not always comfort, because relationships will challenge us and make us feel uncomfortable, but we'll know that our body is still safe with that person. So, really default to how you feel when you're hanging out with somebody and even how you feel after the fact. So, if the next day, I call it like, when you feel kind of like emotionally or energetically hungover, like even if you had no alcohol, that is your body letting you know that you are spending time with people that you aren't in resonance with. So, you want to let your body show you the way. If you consistently feel tired, drained, sad, unhappy when you spend time with people, like in your body, that is a lack of resonance. And that's when your soul is like, hey, we have to remedy this situation. So pay attention to the body. And then I'm going to, because this episode's about letting go, I'm going to give the example of like, okay, I've done the work around my state of being to recognize that something is not in resonance. How do I let go? So I'm actually going to create, I'm going to talk about the difference between romantic and then friendships, because there are obviously different types of relationships. I'm not going to go into familiar relationships because we don't consciously choose our family. So we're not going to get into that. But I'm going to first go into romantic relationships because this is something I really look at energetically a lot in my readings. And I will never tell a client to end a relationship. I just don't think that that is appropriate as an intuitive practitioner. I think that you need to come to a decision on your own before you can really be behind it. What I can do is look at where you are at energetically and where they're at energetically and tell you where your soul wants to go. So I think that if you feel like a romantic relationship is not in resonance and you don't feel like you can really be your full self with somebody, and you don't feel in your heart like you are, I'm going to say, like you can fully really like be in your truth around them and be yourself and feel that harmonization of energies on a regular basis anymore, then that is a sign from your soul that that relationship has run its course. What obviously is tricky about romantic relationships is there's such a clear letting go, and that is what makes it hard, right? It's like we're either together or we're not. And I think that's what makes breakup so hard. It's like we're super involved in each other's lives, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, now we're completely not. It's very painful. So when it comes to letting go of the romantic relationship, I think you have to really be clear in your heart and soul that you cannot become the person you are meant to be if you continue to stay in this relationship. If that answer is like, I can't become this person, you need to end it. And if you end it, when it comes to letting go, you have to accept, like, the only advice I can give you is like, you have to accept that it's going to suck. Pain is just painful, and our minds really dislike pain. I think sometimes we fear the thought of pain more than the actual feeling of pain. But when you take the time to be in your body through pain, it's not that bad and you're going to get through it. So accept that it's going to suck. End it in the most loving, kind way possible. Do it with a ton of courage and love. I think how we end things is so important and says a lot about our character. So make sure that you're doing it in a loving way and then taking care of yourself as you move through the pain. And even if you have a romantic relationship that it ends unexpectedly or someone ends it with you, it's the same, you guys. It's going to be painful. So really be there for yourself. And if that person unfortunately ended it in a way that wasn't loving, really be there for yourself. Take the time to to feel and give yourself the grace that you need to love yourself through this process. And then remember that the soul and the divine make absolutely zero mistakes. So there are zero relationships that will leave our lives that are still meant for us. That is just like I know this in my core and through all my intuitive work that the truth will never miss us. So, and we can't avoid it, unfortunately. The truth is always coming for us. So, if you have to end a relationship, if someone ends a relationship with you, know that that is in the highest truth, even if you can't see it yet. And then friendships. Okay, so this is obviously more complicated, and I want to honor that. But when it comes to friendships, so the concept of letting go is a bit more nuanced with a friendship because our mind will say that letting go is like, I don't talk to this person anymore and like they're just out of my life. But letting go could mean simply, I'm going to let go of my energetic attachment to this person and create space. So that might mean that we used to hang out all the time. Now we're going to hang out a little bit less. And I'm going to just honor my body moment by moment, day by day, and be willing to put my needs first. So if you find that your body is not in resonance with maybe like spending a ton of time with a friend or a group of friends, dabble with what it feels like to create space and always just check in beforehand. See what you need. Do you feel like going to this thing? Do you feel like spending time with them? Do not be afraid to say no, and do not be afraid to be like a bit fierce about that space, just say, hey, no, like I'm just doing my own thing and I can't hang out. And the right people are going to understand that. And then if you find that you have to completely let go of a friendship, which will happen sometimes on the path, I do not believe in the slow fade because I think that the slow fade is ineffective. So you do need to initiate a breakup conversation. And with friends, it's going to be just as uncomfortable with the romantic relationship. And in a lot of ways, it's like, it's just as heartbreaking. It sucks. So if you have to initiate this conversation, same with romance, do it in the most loving and kind and respectful way. And like strap in for the pain. Know that like it's going to feel heart wrenching and it's going to ache, but you've chosen yourself. And that is the most important thing. So when we end things that don't serve us anymore and we have to let go of things that aren't in alignment with us, when we can honor the pain, it's funny because like the first episode was totally about grief. This is also just another type of grief. I mean, it's strapping yourself in and I always like see literally in my sessions, I'll see people like literally strapping themselves in for a ride and it's going on a ride. It's going on the ride of highs and lows and the depth of emotion that you're going to experience when you have to let go of things that you loved, whether that's people, former versions of yourself. It just will hurt. So take the time to really let it hurt, love yourself, and keep reminding your current self who's grieving that the future is going to be worth it. Because when we can honor that, yes, the soul's path is growth and mess, it creates a mess sometimes, it is guiding us to what we really want. So that doesn't mean that, like every day's a cakewalk, as I was saying, but it means that the final destination is going to be so fucking rad, you guys, beyond what we can even imagine. And you have to keep reminding yourself of that when you're in these moments of pain and letting go and shedding and just like all that uncomfortable. It sucks, but you need to have that firm faith and trust in the divine that final destination is going to be beyond worth it. And when you can remember that, it's so much easier to be like, okay, I'm willing to let go because I know that what's coming from me and I know that what God really has planned for me is so far beyond what I could even imagine. And it's people in deep resonance with me, because that's something else too, you guys. When we linger in relationships that don't serve us, we don't feel good in those relationships. That's why our soul wants us to let go of them. So it's like, wait, why am I going to hold on to this relationship that I don't feel good in anymore? When on the other side of this, there's going to be a romantic partner, if that's what you've had to let go of, or friendships that feel so fulfilling that I feel like my soul people, like the soul that makes no mistakes, you guys. If there is a lack of resonance, it's because there are new things that will be in resonance. So it's that willingness to say goodbye, to know that true satisfaction and fulfillment through the right energetic matches it's going to be on the other side. So this is shorter than I would have expected, but that really is the the totality of I guess what I have to share around letting go, and why where you're going, not everyone can come with you. Just to summarize that up, like what I see so often in my sessions is the the energy that we have is so potent and so powerful. And when we have things in our lives that weigh down our energy, we literally, as far as like literally being like, we can't move through time and space in the way that our soul would really want us to. And we can't energetically make progress because we're weighed down by things that aren't not in alignment with our true frequency. So it's just like weighing down a shooting star. Like, do not do that to yourself. You have to let yourself be the star, because that is what you really are. And you can't take everything with you. So be, be, I'm trying to think of the word I would like to leave, like how I would describe it. I want to say like be flexible, be fluid, be energetically agile is what I like to call it. Be energetically agile, be willing to let go and know that you can bounce. That agility is going to give you the freedom that you need to be in true alignment with your incredibly wise, beautiful soul. So that is what I have for you this week. I love you guys so much and appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. And I look forward to being with you next week.